I'm so excited for my daddy's podcast, and it's going to start right now.
Welcome back to the Lessons for Success show. I'm your host, Adam Wardlaw, a middle school science teacher and high school football coach here in the state of South Carolina. Thank you to everyone who's supported the show so far. I just checked, and Lessons for Success is now heard in 8 countries and 30 states here in America. Hopefully you've all gained some valuable insight from our guests so far on the show. Remember, new episodes come out every Sunday, and the show is available everywhere where podcasts can be found. Keep up with the show on social media at L4S Show or use the hashtag L4S Show. Before I forget, you can support the show by giving a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Now let's start the show.
Daddy, who's the guest on your podcast this week?
This week's guest is football coach Jeremiah Fiscus. Coach Fiscus is the head football coach at McPherson College in McPherson, Kansas. Coach Fiscus shares his experiences from college as a player who played for a revolving door of coaches and how that shaped his understanding of the importance of clear communication. Keep up with Coach Fiscus on Twitter at Coach J. Fisk. Enjoy.
My name is Jeremiah Fiscus. I'm the head coach at McPherson College here in Kansas. I'm an alumni of McPherson College, so it's really special to be back here. Get to lead the program, for my alma mater. I grew up in a place called Stafford, Kansas. Was born and raised there. A very small place. We played 8-man football growing up. Grew up kind of out in the country, and had a brother and a sister and both parents at home, so that was good. It was a supportive and challenging environment. My dad and mom both pushed you to be as good as you could at most of those things. I went to after high school. I went to Dodge City Community College to play football, and was out there for 2.5 years. I redshirted and then played 2 years, and then transferred to McPherson College and finished out my degree in elementary education there. Played 2 years there. Along the way with being in collegiate football, I was in some in terms of transition. I played for 4 head coaches over a 5-year period. I played for 4 offensive coordinators in a 5-year period, and I played for 7 different offensive line coaches in a 5-year period. So, you had to be tough and learn to meet expectations of, they're always trying to, you always had to reprove yourself to the next coach and staff that was there, or the next offensive line coach that was there. So that was good because it, learn how to communicate and learn how to, learn a lot of different systems, a lot of different teaching progressions, things of that nature. It was really good. It's really beneficial as later on in life when you become a coach, move around and work with different staffs and work with different kids. You transition something that's not hard at all now, so that's good. When I graduated, I moved down to Natchitoches, Louisiana. I got a job as a graduate assistant at Northwestern State University. Moved down there in July. Then unfortunately, our head coach was let go in 2 days before Thanksgiving that November. So went back, was halfway across the country from home, and went back and got retained by the next head coach. So I was working with another head coach. After that summer, they promoted me to the running backs coach. So I was, 23, 24 years old, coaching running backs at the FCS level. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Finished out that year, got a master's degree there, and then I had an opportunity to go to TCU and be part of Gary Patterson's staff. And that was just a fantastic environment to learn how to coach football, how to prepare a team, how to study, how to teach, how to listen, how to learn, all of those things that go along with really doing the job at a high level. I was there at a very fortunate time to get to be a part of, the environment that he had built and fostered. Andy Dalton was our quarterback, and won the Rose Bowl, beat a very, very good Wisconsin team. And to be part of something like that was very special. So I spent 2 years on that staff as a graduate assistant, and then I got an opportunity to be at Henderson State University, and Henderson State, we kind of hit that place at a very fortunate time as well. And we went in and, 2012, in my first season there, the offensive line coach, we were 10-1, and the next year we were 11-1, and both those years we led Division II football in scoring and passing. So that was something pretty cool to be a part of, and just kind of working my way up from position coach and equipment room guy all the way up to offensive coordinator, recruiting coordinator, and some of those various titles that you get. After that, we had been going. My wife and I grew up in the same county together. Our parents lived about 12 miles apart. We went to different schools, but we had a daughter in September 30th, 2016. It was a Friday night. We played a game that Saturday, but
Man.
After being gone both of us were gone for 10 years, and we were just ready to kind of get back home. Had an opportunity to go take over a high school program. It was a good place with good people. It was a tough job historically, here in Kansas, but we were, the most important thing was we started making football moves instead of family moves instead of football moves, and got back, and shoot, it was all, daughter was loving daycare, and my wife got a good job, and I was happy with what I was doing, and everything was going really, really well. And after just a short bit there, I started there in mid-June, and then kind of November 15th, I was accepted the position to be the head coach here at my first college, and it's kind of been a whirlwind ever since. So we're just now getting done with our final. We've had recruiting and spring ball and all those things, and kids are winding down and getting ready for finals and all that type of stuff. And then me and my wife are expecting our second child here 2 weeks from today is her due date. So
hey, congrats.
Yeah, thanks, man. One thing's slowing down and the other thing's getting real cranked up. So
it's funny how that always happens, where you kind of get one thing settled and something else pops up.
I really feel like I said, we made, for the first time in ever in my professional life, we made a family decision as opposed to a football decision. And we went, came home, and said wife was really happy with her job. We were all really happy to be back with their family, and she, almost immediately was able to get pregnant, and that was a blessing, because having the first child took us 3 years. So everything just kind of started falling in line once we started making family decisions.
Well, and I think so many people out there, especially in the football profession, you talk to, or you hear from a lot of guys, they're always talking about how many times they moved around and this and that. Something you mentioned earlier, Coach, was, talking about playing for so many different head coaches and coordinators in such a short amount of time. And that idea of having to prove yourself, year in and year out to different people. I feel like that kind of applies to, definitely some of my students that might be listening, or any students out there who have to deal with different teachers, or maybe people out there that are changing careers and stuff like that. What's that? Do you have any advice for people who are kind of going through that?
I think the first thing, is a clear line of communication, with whoever that boss, manager, teacher may be. And when I say a clear line of communication, I mean, you want to be able to know exactly what the expectation is. And if you don't have the tools or the understanding, moving forward, you want to be able to speak with that person directly about, for guidance on what they think you need to do to meet that expectation. That's the whole thing is, you take all the, because people either have the drive to get things done or they don't. But, in that transition, the biggest thing is you tell me exactly what you expect of me, and then, and just, not being too proud or anything like that to say, hey, what exactly do you want of me, and how do you want me to do it? And then I'll get it done. So
what are some things with your team that, you make sure you're doing just to kind of set it out there what the tone is with your players?
So everything, there's a whole bunch of things. There's really 4 things that we talk about, on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. We talk about it in recruiting. We talk about it, everything that we do is based on 4 things. That's attitude, chemistry, family, and accountability. And that's something that Coach Patterson had on the bottom of, that was the basis of the program there. And I watched it happen in front of me, so I know what it can do. But accountability is one of the biggest things that we do. And that's one of the things that we stress the most because, it all translates from the classroom to the weight room to on the field. And if a guy's got to worry about what the guy behind him, beside him, next to him is going to do on third down, then he's not able to play at his full speed. So, we start accountability around our place. We have a breakfast check at 7:15 every morning. And the guys have to be there between 7:15. They got to be there between 7:15 and 7:30. And that's just, it's about teaching life skills. It's about being up and being where you're supposed to be. And, that's the biggest thing about young people is a lot of young people get fired from jobs, not because they don't have the ability to do the job, but because they don't have the ability to show up daily. So, on a personal level of accountability, we're trying to teach the kids to show up and be ready to work every single day. And that's Monday through Friday. And that doesn't matter if you're freshman through sophomore, poor student, good student, doesn't matter. That's the expectation we have. And if they don't meet that expectation, then later in the day we have corrective activities and we get them kind of lined back out. That's kind of the activity, the accountability on a personal level. On a team level, if a guy shows up late to a team function, to a lift, to a meeting, to practice, whatever it may be, because we are very clear and communicate clearly and up front with where they need to be and when they need to be there. So if a guy is late or misses something, it's not miss. If a guy's late, then we stand him out in the middle and we punish the whole team, because if we can't count on you to be on time, how can we count on you on third down? So those are some of the things that we've done to try to change that culture of accountability here. I think that, the biggest things to success, and this is my opinion, and this is coming from a guy that hadn't won no ball games at the collegiate level as a head coach, so take it for what it's worth. But I think, your attitude is something you can always control. We have a saying we use daily in the office: there are no problems, there's only solutions. I think your attitude is something you can only control, and being the kind of person that when it's third down, your teammates want you in on the game. And when I say your teammates, I mean, if it's time to go sign a big recruit, you want somebody to want you in that car with them. If it's time to go, whatever it may be, if it's working on a project and you're a student in school, you want to be that kind of person that they want on your team. Be the kind of accountable and responsible person that people want on their team. And if you can have a great attitude and be that kind of results-oriented person, I think you can be pretty happy and pretty successful at whatever it is you're doing.
Daddy, I'm learning so much from this podcast.
I appreciate the time Coach Fiscus spent with me, and I want to congratulate him on the new addition to his family. Let's review this lesson for success. Many people out there can relate to Coach Fiscus' story about having a revolving door of coaches over you. Whether you're a football player, student, teacher, or just working through corporate America, at some point you'll have to handle changes in command. From the perspective of the employee, be proactive. Ask your supervisor what the expectations are so that you can fulfill them. From the perspective of the supervisor, if you find yourself in charge of a new group of people, you need to be upfront and clear about what your expectations are so that your employees can meet those expectations. Well, that's it for this week's Lesson for Success. Be sure to interact with the show on Twitter and Instagram at L4S Show, mentioning us or using the hashtag L4S Show. Again, that's the number 4. Episodes will also be placed on the YouTube channel Lessons for Success Show. Download the Anchor app in order to send in messages to the show, and your questions and comments could be featured on future episodes. All of the episodes are available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or anywhere else that podcasts can be found, so be sure to like, subscribe, and rate. Thank you again for listening to the Lessons for Success Show podcast.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.